that, because we've got all new, where are we, over here, I think that's an old one, that might be an old front one as well, but we've got all new rubber doohickey diaphragm things, which is good. Happy that we were able to get them. I think they got ordered in from Sydney, but we open them all up, and we've opened one of them up. You can see it's pretty corroded and a bit yuck. But the cap, which I believe, like this is the high pressure side, like this is a thick cap, it's in good nick. But on the atmospheric side that's got no pressure on it, you can see it's actually very unpleasant. So I think I'll go through and take all 4 of these, or the last 3 of these back ones off, and I'll attack everything with a wire brush and clean them up. So on these, they've just got a, oh, one's taken apart here somewhere, you'll see in the video, but they've basically got just a clamp thing. I undo one of those completely, just loosen off the other one, take that airline off, and that back half just comes off, and then out comes your little shaft, plunger and springs and all that sort of stuff. So first things first, I think we'll take off this line just with 2 shifters, because we don't want to twist the line or anything. Need a bit of persuasion there, but just keeping an eye on it, making sure nothing's moving that we don't want to. There we go, just like that. Actually, I'll find the can a bit of WD. That's him. That'll be right there. Oh, bloody hell, that's pretty tight. Oh, bloody hell, she's nice and warm, that is. Yeah, you can see how much mud is on that thing there still. Yeah, we'll put that bolt in a safe spot so I can lose it. Yeah, we'll try and just loosen off the other side enough so we can spread the clamps there, and bloody hell, spilling it everywhere. Loosen it off just enough so we can spread those 2 halves apart. Hopefully this one goes. Yeah, that's a bit. Oh, lost my socket. Rightio, how are we? That's it. Oh, she's not too pretty. That's a lot of unwanted foreign matter. Now, of course, that piston is under spring tension there, so it will want to. Here's our high. Oh, that's it. There's our rubber. You can pull him out. You see the actual under pressure side is still thick. I mean, it's got a bit of basically surface rust on it. It's not too bad. The diaphragm's got plenty of crusty bits. Semi-flexible, but our main concern here is clean up all that rust, because you see what just poured out of it, and I'm sure I haven't seen inside there yet. Yeah, just a look inside. Yeah, pretty ordinary. Anyhow, that's as simple as it is. Pretty simple to take them off. I'll go ahead and time lapse just throwing the other two off. Hopefully they're not the same, but I've got my doubts about that. But we'll take them off and then we'll clean everything up with the wire brush. I sandblasted up those springs and the plungers from the rear brakes, and the springs aren't in a good way. Namely, one of the small springs that go inside holding the seals has rusted in half, and all 4 of those seals are just absolutely perished and no good. So we'll spend a bit of time trying to track down some new springs and seals for them. But in the meantime, I'm going to jack the front of the truck up, take the front, put on these car stands there, take the front wheels off and pull all the front brakes apart. Alright, it's up on the jack stands. I've cracked all the wheel nuts free. A few of them were pretty tight, but nothing leverage can't help you with. So we'll go ahead and run all the nuts off and take both wheels off. Alright, onto the driver's side now. Note I'm keeping the nuts on the left and right hand side of the truck separate, just so I know which one's going which side, because on the right hand side they're right hand thread, they're normal, lefty loosey, but on the left hand side it's lefty tighty. So I'm just keeping them separate just between the two sides of the truck, so I know, so I get confused while I'm putting wheels back on. Alright, that's the front wheels off. I might go and read my book a little bit. I can probably go ahead and take these dust covers off the back, but I'll go and read my book a little bit to make sure I undo the right things to take all this apart. Right, I'll take these dust covers off because I'm feeling sure I can't mess that up. Seems pretty simple. Oh, the other side's much the same. There's a little bit of grease and a little bit of sand from our sandblasting stuff. We'll clean all that out. We'll take the drum off and all that anyhow, but I'll have to read my book on just how to take it off properly, because I don't want to just go in and guessing in case I take something off I'm not supposed to. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I think I'll go around and take the dust covers off the other side. Alright, same thing. Just, what is it, 5 bolts. It's out. Have to run a magnet through here now. Anywho, let's not get bogged down in every single bloody lost spring washer. Okay, let's have a look. Oh, we're looking much the same. Looks the same, bit of sand, as you can see there, but we'll clean that out. They look like they've got plenty of meat on them. Alright, I've had a read of the book, and it says you just take just take these bolts here off, and then there'll be like a locking nut and a collet washer in there, and take all that stuff off just under that cap, and you can take the hub off. But if you want to take the drum off separately, all you got to do is undo these 2 bolts apparently. So because we're sort of going to do everything separate, I think I'll take the drum off and then try and take the actual hub off. So we'll see how I go taking the drum off. We'll get rid of these 2 bolts here. I don't know how stuck it's going to be, whether it'll just fall off after a little bump, or whether it doesn't seem to have extractor holes for extractor bolts. So I'm hoping with a couple of taps it should come off. We'll get a persuasion tool and see what happens. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Lovely strings of something. Little tab washer, 2 flats on it. Go in there. Now our bearing should somewhat come out. There we go. The whole hub's free. That's out. Oh. Yeah, there's plenty of meat on them by the look of it. Okay, we're back working on these front hubs now. after waiting a minute for some extra special 3/8 thick single lip seals to come from England, because nowhere in Australia do they exist. You go to every shop and you get stupid looks when you ask for it. Anyway, we've got them now. So I'll just put a film of grease around the outside just to help it slide in when I tap it in. And we've tested the fit on the other side on the truck as well, and it fits really nicely. So hopefully it taps in alright on the hub side. And that way. Judging by that different sound it made, I'd say it's home. I'll get a little bit of grease and just wipe it round the lip of the seal so that it slides on nicely onto the truck. Alright, now we've got the hub here. I'm going to pack the inside of it with a good thick layer of grease, just all around in the centre. Now we can throw our bearing in, which I believe is the large one, which does fit through the seal. Yeah, with greasy hands again. Now that should just slide straight on. I'm assuming that's on all the way. Then our small bearing will slide in like that. If I put it on square, it should be able to sit against like that. I assume it goes that way because the numbers, I guess, would be on the outside. And then we can do our wheel bearings up. Oh, that's got no play that I can feel. Is that what you're after?
Yeah, we'll just nip it up and then back it off till we've got a little bit of play.
There's a very little bit in that I can feel. So we'll then put out nut and bolt through. Find a split pin that probably broke on the way out, that'll go through there to stop that bolt from coming undone, and I'll have to go and find a socket and spanner to do that up. Okay, so I'm happy with the very little bit of play on that you want, so we'll go ahead now and do this one up. Always use the right tool for the job. And that'll do us for that. We'll just go around in a circle. And that's the bearing hub done. So now we can go ahead and throw the drum on, I believe, which is held on just by these two bolts between there and there. Okay, so we've got our drum here that's been painted up with some high temp black, Now I've just polished the paint out of the holes here where they go over the top of the studs, because that should be a very neat fit, and sometimes paint will make it bind up and jam on you. So I may even just put a smear of grease just in these holes as well, just to help it slide. Yeah, so we'll make sure that we line up our bolt holes correctly, which will be about here somewhere. Now I got a persuasion tool just to help bump it on a bit. It's a bit filthy, but anyway. But that is what we needed. So we can go ahead and put these two little bolts in now. They're a very thin-headed bolt, so it's easy for it to slip off. Anyway, that's our front right hub done. See if our brakes work, which they should do. That's it. We'll move on to the other side. Okay, these front brake actuators are good to go. We've pulled them apart and they're clean inside. We special ordered some new type 16 rubbers, or diaphragms, or whatever you call them. We've got a big lever holding that down for us, so it's not going to be in our way. So I'll sit that on there. That goes about there because that's just where the hose is bending to. And then this little two-piece clamp thing should come round and neatly grab both sides, so it wants to go over the top of all of it. Bit like that. Just make sure it's good at the back, which it is. Give it a bit of a squeeze in. Okay, stuff the G-clamp idea. I got these. I'll probably get yelled at less for using this. See if I can just squeeze it round a bit like that. That's sort of gone in almost evenly all the way around. I can undo this bolt at the back if need be, but I think this will just about do us. I'll be able to do that up nicely now. The other side hasn't been taken off, and it had about 3mm of thread sticking out the back, so I'll just try and copy that. About there. I'll just nip this back up as well because I did undo it a frag. Don't think I would have undone it much more than that. Right, that's on. We've got some replacement hose here for we'll replace all the rubber brake lines. And I think we're going to try, these hose clamps are part of this spring guard thingo. So we're going to try and take that off and slide it onto our new section of hose. But whilst spinning it in the direction that doesn't compress the spring. So if I spin it that way, it could make the spring close up and get tighter on the hose like that. See how it's not moving? Or if I spin that way, it actually opens up the spring and it lifts off the surface of the hose. So that's the type of thing we're looking to do. And just whilst spinning and pulling, hopefully we can slide it off the rest of the hose. Right, just like that. A little bit of distortion there. We might be able to bend that back to shape. Yeah, a bit like that. That's pretty soft. So I've got our new length of hose cut, and it's the same thing. You just wind the spring on in the way that it's not going to tighten down on it. So now we can go ahead, push our new hose on, if it's going to cooperate for us. Okay, we've used this heat gun slash fire lighter to heat up the other side, and we just pushed it on a little bit more. And now I'm just heating up this end of the hose so we can hopefully push it on with ease. I've heated it for a minute now, we'll give it a go. Yeah, that was disappointing. Okay, it was a heck of a battle, but admittedly we did use just the tiniest veneer of just hand soap, no water, on this fitting, and we were actually able to get it on. We couldn't even push that on past a third of the way. Anyhow, now that that's on, we've done this clamp up, and we're just going to rotate the spring in the way that makes it clamp around the hose. So the opposite way to as if you were taking the spring off. Is that coming? No, it hasn't. But anyway, so just spin it round until it just comes up past that bit there. Now that's pretty good there, I think. Almost. A little bit more here, maybe. I'll try for that. So now that bit there's on. Do up that hose clamp, and that is our brake line replaced. I'll just loosen up this back one a bit. That'll do. A little bit deteriorated, this old rubber. A little bit of moisture evident. We'll give it a bit of a wire buff and clean that's just dust in there. There's still paint underneath all of that. That still works. Yeah, we'll give it a clean up, and then we'll put new diaphragm in and put it all back together. Okay, we gave it a bit of a scuff up. There's a little bit of rust happened around there just from moisture, and you'll probably call me out on it. There's a little bit of pitting on that sealing edge there, but it's got about 3mm of okayness, and rubber's soft-ish, so we'll have our fingers crossed, put it back together, clean the dirt out of this here. It's still all full of paint, you can't fault it. So we're just going to we'll put a bit of pressure on that lever there to pull the piston thing down. Hopefully it doesn't come off and rocket at my nose. Would be rather unfortunate. I'll find my multi-grips, give that a squeeze, and hopefully it seats itself alright. Checking that this clamp is over the shoulder on both halves. Right, yeah, I think we can do it with the nut and bolt now. That'll probably do us. Right, yeah, that's good. We gave that a bit of a polish up as well. Just like that. Alright, we'll do the same thing as we did the other side. Throw these dust covers on that I forgot about. Well, that's it. That's the two front hubs done. Hubs and actuators and air hose. Alright, we'll go ahead and put this tie rod on now. It had little rubber donuts basically sitting up in here just as a sort of moisture and dirt barrier. They were all perished and deteriorated, so we got these little foam circles. We've stacked two in there, so it'll do pretty much the same thing. So we should be right to throw, just throw it straight in. I can try and sit it in the other side, a bit like that. Something like that. Should be alright. And we'll just get a bit of grease. Throw it on these threads at the bottom here. Bit much, but anyway. Do the other side as well. While I'm going. Now we pulled this, well, Dad pulled it all apart. The tie rod ends and cleaned them out, serviced them, greased them, put them all back together. So they're all clean inside, serviced. Can have a bit of peace of mind in that aspect. We put our castle nut on. I've got a couple of new split pins for it as well. So, put on the steering lock. About that much. See if I was able to line up my split pin hole. Don't think I was quite that lucky. That's it. Find my screwdriver that I didn't prepare earlier. This little one will do. Not like that, but anyway. I'll just grab me side cutters just to grip it. Bend him round. Same thing with this one, I'll just bend him up a bit. Alright, we'll shift around to the other side. Same thing, bit of grease on the thread, castle nut, do him up nice, firm. A good nearly 4 ugger-duggers, I reckon, on a scale of nothing to 7. Probably closer to 5 or 6 actually. Just pinch them in between, bend it round, bend that bit up. That's the tie rod in. Okay, that's both the brake lines done. Did that one, I didn't film it because you've seen it before, they're all the same. They went just as smoothly as you could ask for. Now we just got to keep hunting around for some springs for the inside of these brake actuators, because there's just no shops anymore that can get, like, you can just buy random size springs from. Unless I think there's a place down in Melbourne that custom makes springs, but I wouldn't know how much that'd cost, so I might just go and find a mattress or something and see if I can find something out of that. But I think that'll do for today, because it's bloody humid and there's a storm coming. Alright, moving on to the rear diaphragms, or the rear brake chambers. That's the diaphragm. We've got new Type 20 diaphragms ready to go in the caps. Now I've wire buffed all inside this half and inside that half there. Now the springs inside there, the big ones are all right, and the little ones, they weren't so good. There'll be one somewhere, but anyway, went online and it was bloody difficult to find any, but found someone selling basically exactly the right size but twice as long as I needed. So I thought, beautiful, I'll get 2, cut them in half and I'll get 4. They sent 4 anyway, so now I've got 2 spare long ones. That doesn't matter. So I've got 4 good little ones which sit inside there, and all they do is carry the seal which sits inside here, which is very well plastered back in there with a bit of white Sikaflex. It doesn't matter that much, it's just basically a water seal, and that sits on top of the spring with its little tabs just like that, and then that goes over the shaft of the plunger thing, whatever that bit's called. And I've primed just this plate end. You can see there's a little bit of pitting on there from moisture that's gotten in there before, so a bit of primer just to try and stop the corrosion. Now somewhere else that I've lost, anyway, I picked up some little boots. Now the truck didn't have anything on it before, and they fit nice and snug just over the top of that there. Now that plunger comes through and goes inside that bit, and these boots, that just sits straight on top of there, and it's not doing much here, it's just sitting there, but it's doing more than it did before not having one. So that hopefully will keep a bit more water out from going inside the atmospheric side of the brake chamber. So first things first, I think I'll shift my tools off to the side without spilling them everywhere. We'll get a little bit of grease from our tube that has been subject to a little bit of dirt, but that's okay. I'm sure someone will yell about that, but that doesn't matter. Just grease that up a little bit so the seal has something to slide on. That bit will go over the top. Press it just gently on there. I should have put some grease all the way up, but it should go on nice and freely in a second. There we go, that's got it. Now that spring is supposed to be able to push that seal back up. Lo and behold, it's a little bit stiff. I might put a little bit more grease on that just to help it slide. Not that it doesn't hold back oil or anything. It's not like really important seal is what I'm getting at. And then we've got big spring, goes over the top of that. Now I'll find my boot and I'll put that on now, because next we're going to shove that plunger back up in there. Okay, now again, just going to put a little bit of lubrication on the threads goes a long way. Now the bolts on this outside clamp I've run up and down with WD-40 and a bit of grease on them, even though that just fell in the dirt anyway and subtracted every bit of work I did, but we won't worry too much about that. So this cap, we'll just go straight on like that, but we'll get this here nut to come back down. It's the air pipe, and we'll start that thread first before we put that big clamp on around the outside. Okay, took a little bit of fiddling, but I've got this airline on now, and that's doing up nicely as it should. I won't tighten it up just yet, but now we can install our little clamp. Now these are a bit finicky. I reckon these diaphragms, I don't know. I mean, I know the old ones would have been squished, but they seem a little bit thicker than the old ones. I could just be making shit up, but anyway, well, they do go on, but it's just a bit tight, that's all. So we'll have to, I'll set my other nut and bolt there ready. Get yourself in a position, you sort of need 3 hands for this job, because you want to push that up and on, and you got to get this thing to grab both sides of the brake chamber. Rightio. Now I've got this bolt started. How's the process? Now you can sort of slowly do them up and persuade it to sit where it needs to sit, because you'll be able to see there that this has to cover over this lip here, and it's got to do the same thing on that side there. So we'll slowly do the bolts up, and we'll just ensure that they go in the right direction. We'll make sure they cover. I'll make sure that's on doey uppy mode, righty for tighty. Pop the spanner on the top. There we go. Now you can get a bit of pressure on it and then give it a bit of persuasion with a tapping device. And of course this side here is on, but we want to make sure that it's on the other side, which it feels and looks to be. So really we just want to tighten this side up until it pops over that lip nicely, because it's got to basically seal, because all that pressure that applies your brakes gets put in through that line on this side, so that's got to seal. So it's not necessarily a bad thing about why it's so tight to put on. I think I'll just about be happy at that. Right, I'll find me big shifter that I had somewhere, and we'll do up this air fitting. Now it's got that tapered seat / olive thing that someone will correct me on inside, so it'll go up until it'll screw on until it basically hits, and then you just do it up to the correct torque setting of about that much. Oops, keep bashing the camera. Should be right. So it's sort of starting to get a bit tight now. Here we go. Okay, just get that little bit more there. You can feel it's up against its seat, so just give it a good, about that much. I think should do. Oh, there we go. Now, oops, now it's up against its seat. That should do. And that's about as simple as it is. That's number 2. That's 3. That's 4. Rightio, that's all 4 of those rear brake chambers done. Just as we've lost a bit of light. The solar system's also run out of battery. Yeah, high base turned off on us. But anyhow, I think that'll do us for part 2 of the Albion restoration. We've finished all these axles and the brakes on front and rear. So I think in part 3 we'll start tackling the drive line. So we've got to do something about this little hole that's rusted in here, and we'll be changing the oil in the diffs, and also I believe we'll start working on doing a bit of accessory swapping on our good engine and the engine that come out of it, and we've got to put the original gearbox on the back of that one, and of course we'll do all oil changes and basically check over everything. So anyway, thanks for watching part 2. I'll catch you in the next one.